Why NATO, EU, UK and USA should not be blamed for failing to protect Ukraine from Russia. Welcome to the news and thank you for tuning in to listen. Across different media platforms, people have criticized NATO, USA, EU and UK for their inability to come to the rescue of Ukraine when Russia invaded them. Well, it is no longer news that Ukraine is actually, under attack from Russia, and right now Ukraine is not fighting back to attack Russia. Rather, it is fighting back to protect its citizens. In fact, the latest we've heard is that even the president actually joined them. Like, that is very courageous of him. Stay with us. The news in detail, please. Stay with us. Beyond every sentiment, it is important for us to frustrate the origin of this crisis and then escalate the discussion on why this body should not be blamed for not protecting Ukraine with military actions. So let's start with the history. Before then, please know that this is a detailed article. The length of this article is to enable us to get to the root of this issue and dissect the discussions. Donbas is a region in the southeast of Ukraine that is now the epicenter of a conflict between Russia and Ukrainian pro-Russia separatists and the Ukrainian army. The Donbas region borders Russia to the east and the regions of Donetsk and Luhansk to the west and north respectively, a region blessed with natural resources. Due to the way the Ukrainian government turned a blind eye to the people in this region, no reasonable development, as the resources in this region are mined, yet the people get no good benefit from it. Hence, they started agitating, and instead of listening to them to know what to do, to see how to resolve their situation, the Ukrainian government resorted to using security agencies to suppress them. This led to the birth of separatist group, military formations said to be affiliated with the Russian breakaway regions in Ukraine, called the Donetsk and the People's Republic and Luhansk People Republic were born. These groups were formerly militants and armed volunteer group unified as the United Armed Forces of Novorossiya, which were proscribed as terrorist group by the Ukrainian government to further tear them. But due to the support of a Putin's administration, Russian president, they waxed stronger. Pavel Gubarev is the founder leader of the Donbas People Militia Group. Shortly after being elected the People's Governor on 6 March 2014, Gubarev was arrested by the Security Service of Ukraine for advocating separatism and illegal seizure of power. He faced up to 10 years in prison, but on the 7th May 2014, Gubarev was freed in exchange for Ukraine Security Service SBU officers captured earlier by the Donbas People's Militia Group. On the 7th of October 2014, the militia was renamed Luhansk People's Militia in the Luhansk Oblast. This group was originally involved in taking control of Ukrainian government building in the Oblast. But as the Ukrainian government replied always with force, it increased to the point of a militia being actively involved in fighting a war against the Ukrainian government in the Donbas region of Ukraine. And this was said that the separatists are supported by the Russian armed forces. It was obvious that the Ukrainian people denied the people of Donbas region the independence they seek, nor even making good efforts to dialogue with them because of the natural resources the land possesses. The Donbas is said to be rich in hard coal, particularly anthracite, rock, salt, lignite, marl, limestones, clays, and other. And the British and other European countries are said to have been secretly benefiting from these natural resources. Hence, the reason they remain silent to the sufferings and agitation of the people of Donbas region. As the war between the groups and the Ukrainian government increased and the groups seemed to have overwhelmed the Ukrainian soldiers in a way, they sought assistance from a North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, by joining the organization in 2014, which became a priority, but unfortunately it never happened due to the influence of Russia. It was gathered that NATO wanted to have a military base in that region, which was also met with a strong rejection from the Russian government. And as Russia invaded Ukraine fully a few days ago, from the reports, the president also warned that any country that interfered would face immediate dire consequences, and also warned the Ukrainian soldiers to drop their weapons and go home. Meanwhile, Russia is said to be the number 2 in the world in military might with a great number of soldiers after the United States and the number 1 in nuclear weapon. Today, the refusal of the Today, the result of their refusal to grant the people of Donetsk region their independence nor dialogue with them has turned into a full-blown war. This is the true origin of a crisis. The people of Ukraine are now running away from their lands with other foreign citizens. Now, let us discuss why the above-mentioned organization should not be blamed for failing to protect Ukraine from Russia. People have openly accused USA of deceiving Ukraine to join NATO and get for safety. It is actually on record that America never urged Ukraine to join NATO. Ukraine had been making this move on its own since 2008, but was prevented by France and Germany, obviously because of their relationship with Russia. American involvement started getting strong when Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014 and annexed Crimea. There is nothing America and the Allies can do militarily because Ukraine is not a member of the alliance. Neither America and the Allies nor Ukraine is at fault here. Russia is the aggressor. This is unprovoked and unnecessary war. This is an attempt by Putin to restore former Soviet Union, put the entire backing under him. Did America urge Ukraine to do anything when Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014? Is America urging Finland and Sweden now that Putin has now threatened these countries? In the interest of peace, all sanctions America and the Allies had done was to placate Putin, the same thing the world did for Hitler. People also argue that NATO urged Ukrainian president to join the organization. Those are weak conspiracy theories. How did NATO urge Zelensky? The world became concerned when Russian troops surrendered Ukraine borders from three sides. Regarding the Allies, maybe they are not doing enough in terms of sanctions. For me, Russia should be sanctioned to a level of Stone Age. Cut them off from SWIFT, stop gas importation, etc. On another ground, the Allies are also thinking of effecting on their own economy and internal politics. Russia supplies gas to Europe for heating and electricity, and stopping supply from Russia will strongly increase inflation. Also, Germany and Italy, for instance, at the forefront of anti-strong sanctions, have very strong economic relationship with Russia. There is fear of how the impact of the sanctions will be perceived by the citizens and could affect their political fortunes. France is having her election this year. Biden will also be thinking of the effect of sanctions at home and consequently his rating. That is why it is a bit difficult for the Allies to impose the strictest sanctions. I hope they can change this position. I expect them to think of lives and sanction Russia strongly, cutting them off from SWIFT. So they are trying to say that this is happening because they refuse to pay attention and negotiate. Oh, wow. I just hope that Nigeria learns from this sincerely. I just hope that at the end of the day, Nigeria learns from this. Okay, on this note,